Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you very much again for joining me this morning for Rapid Fire Friday. So I appreciate you all being here, and thank you to those that are watching the replay. I very much appreciate your time. I know you have lots and lots of options for tuning in to valuable content. So I appreciate you choosing Edible Impressions. So for those of you that are new to the community, Cookie Decorating Hobby to Business 101, just want to introduce myself formally. My name is Annette Conrad, and I'm the owner and lead creative for Edible Impressions. It's a company I started over 17 years ago as a hobby, and now it is truly my livelihood for my family. And I'm here just to share all things that I love about cookie decorating, and then also to share with you a bit about my journey and experiences transforming my hobby into a business. So if you have an interest, maybe you're thinking about something to create, but you're not quite sure what that is or how to get started, you're in the best place because I will share with you how I transformed that passion into a profitable business. So welcome. I am located just north of downtown Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So thank you so much again for being here. What is Rapid Fire Friday? Really quickly, if you are not familiar, what I do is every Friday I come on live at 10 o'clock Central Time. Yes to the replay. So if you need to hop off, don't worry. You can always come back and watch the replay. Good morning, everybody. Hello to Diane and Fran and Penny. I appreciate you being here live. And so what I do is I look at the last week. I'm in a lot of conversations with clients, with other Facebook groups and cookiers, and I'm very involved in the community. So I try to bring topics of interest and to the table. And again, please understand and know this is coming from my perspective, from my experience. So it's not, be all that. But if you're interested in going deeper on any of these topics, I welcome you to put that in the feed. So I don't take questions live, but I do always go in post-event, always in all my events, and answer any wonderments that you might have for these topics. So sometimes they're decorating, sometimes they are business sense, sometimes they're just for fun. So I've got some good topics for this week. So I'm going to ring the bell after each Q&A, and then we will get going. So, okay, so the first one is, hello cookiers, I'm new to this group. So this one comes in from our own community. And sometimes I bring topics up because you may not have seen them in the feed. We have upwards of 3,500 people in the community, and I know this may not be the only group that you're in. So sometimes I'll bring topics of conversation that are right in our community because I think they're really valuable. So if it's a repeat, hold tight. And we'll go on to the next one. But this one says, hello cookiers, I'm new to this group, but I've been a hobbyist for close to 10 years. Sounds familiar. I'm going to be retiring soon, and I'm getting ready to launch a part-time cookie business. I have so many questions about what I need to do to get started. My first is, how do I go about coming up with a unique name? So I find this inquiry very interesting because I think, first of all, people get caught up and they think that, picking out a logo, picking out a name is like the first thing that they need to do. But I understand this person has been decorating. It sounds like they have an established client base and they are ready to move forward with that name and formalize their business. So that's great. But if you are just starting out, please don't not take action because you don't have a name or a logo for your business. So you can get started, you can be selling without having all of those kind of ducks in a row. All that will come. And then when you do choose a name, don't worry that and feel like you are set in stone. You can always make changes. So it is not the most important piece. It's important, but it's not the most important piece for you to be successful. But here's some quick tips on when you are looking for a business name. It plays a big role in your success. You need something that's going to be meaningful and memorable. You need something that's going to be easy to remember. You're going to need something that's going to be easy to spell. And one of the important keys is that it is unique, but not too unique, but it differentiates you from other businesses. So my advice will be to not confuse your clients, be original, do your research. So go online and start searching. If you have an idea for a name, go ahead and see if anyone else owns it, because what you don't want to do is confuse your prospective clients, especially if it's a well-established business. What they're going to do is both those companies are going to come up if they have the same name, And who do you think they're going to choose? They're probably going to choose the one that maybe is a little bit more established. Maybe not, but I know if I were shopping for something and I saw two companies with the same name, I'm going to go to the one that has been in business a bit longer. Of course, I look for a number of other criteria, but I look at the testimonials, the reviews. So, so keep that in mind. If you were searching for something, what are some of the criteria that you base it on? And sometimes it is the name and the logo and the color scheme. If it is already taken, that is okay. There are many, many name options out there. So don't get hung up if it's, something that is meaningful for you, but it may not be meaningful or top of mind for other people. So I know some people get really fun and they get kind of quirky and, they want to be creative. But again, you've got to make sure that it is meaningful and memorable. So don't get too carried away on that wordplay. You want to say what it is. So like for instance, edible impressions, it tells you that it's edible, it makes an impression, but then my tagline is where great cookies take shape. So right away, when someone sees my logo, they know exactly what I do for the business. So, you kind of want to sometimes incorporate that into the name or eventually the logo. So, and then the best thing you can do is offer some kind of feeling in that. Descriptive words are really, really good for a business name. So you can see I have edible, which is saying it's edible. It's impression, so it makes an impression. The tagline, where great cookies take shape. So it's kind of a descriptive word, but you kind of almost can smell the bakery. So when you're thinking about a business name, try to evoke some kind of feeling in the name as well. So one of our community members, I have to give her a shout out, Michelle. Congratulations to Michelle. She recently posted in the feed, so go back a couple of days. She was, I think she was recognized for her work with her logo cookies by Icing Images, I believe, is what I saw on that image that she posted. So the reason I bring her up is because her business name is called Oh My Cookies. I mean, what a fantastic name for a business. And she incorporated a little bit of her name into her business name. And again, there's that, oh my, like it's exciting. And it's like, you've got to see these. That's what kind of comes to mind when I see that name of that business. I'm curious. I want to go look at that website. So, and the last thing is just make sure it's easy to pronounce. For someone who has trouble pronouncing some words periodically, make sure it's easy to pronounce and also easy to spell, because you don't want people getting frustrated trying to find you and they just don't know how to spell your business name. All right. For those of you that know, I was an event planner for 24 years, so my Rapid Fire Friday is not always so rapid because I sometimes go in a little bit more detail, maybe than I need to, but I want to make sure that you really soak up as much as you can from my experiences and my journey. Okay, so question number 2 is, I have a question. When bagging up your cookies after they've dried, of course, do you always plastic bag them with a twist tie? I have some cookies in Ziploc bags, and I don't know if the zip would be too strong of a seal. Would they get too hot and cause icing to melt? She has 500 cookies to do, and she's making them in stages. So that's a really good question. Now, I don't have all the information of the who, what, where, when, why for this order, but what comes to mind is that I don't always heat seal the cookies. It really depends on the quantity. It also depends on where the cookies are going and how quickly they are going to be distributed. So in fact, we had a couple orders this week that we bagged with a tie and did not heat seal because they were going to be picked up and consumed that same day or the next day. So there's really no need to heat seal, but I can tell you I always heat seal airtight when they are shipped out. So they are always heat sealed when they are shipped out or when they're put on a platter presentation for an event that is very concerned about the handling of the food. So that's a great, easy way for you to offer that service, is to offer to heat seal those individual smaller platter size cookies. So, but you don't always have to. And honestly, royal icing, if you are working with royal icing, it really doesn't melt. We ship nationwide all season long, even in the heat of summer. And we've never, knock on wood, we've never had a complaint or a concern of melted frosting. So, and we do not package with ice packs either. So, okay. All right, so that was number 2. Let's go on to number 3. And thank you so much for folks being here. Looks like we've got Nora on and Michelle, or Norla, excuse me, and Karen. Thank you so much. I appreciate you and all that are watching the replay. This is wonderful. Okay, so the next one is, anyone know where I can get this Sun cookie cutter within days without costing an arm and a leg? I forgot I needed it for an order next Saturday, and that's the only one, that's not one I want to hand cut. So if you can imagine, this was in another group, this gal had a picture of a sun, and it had, it was, you know, the shape of a sun, and it had these little divots out of it. And so it was clearly a cookie cutter. Although with the small divots, it didn't look like a very fun cookie cutter to work with because of those small little edges. But anyway, so there were a lot of folks that chimed in and gave links to purchase. And I mean, it sounds like she was going to need to expedite this cookie cutter. And so some people, you know, said, why don't you go ahead and hand cut it? But of course, she's got quite a few to do, and that would be very time consuming. What I did is I chimed in and said, hey, don't underestimate the power of a round circle cookie cutter. And it may not be the exact shape of the sun, but when I saw that design, if she were to hand frost that design on a circle and only frosted the shape of the sun, you wouldn't even see that it was a circle cookie cutter. So there are ways around it, especially if it's kind of a unique shape that you may not use again or anytime soon. So you don't want to invest in too many cookie cutters. So bottom line is, don't underestimate if you are in need of a cookie shape that you don't have. Don't be so quick to purchase. And there is also another group, I think it's called Flip That Cookie Cutter. That's a really interesting group. I'm not in there too often, but they're really, really creative. So if you really are stuck, don't have time to purchase, don't know where to purchase, save yourself some time and some money and just use those kind of alternate shapes. You might be able to cut a shape, you might be able to blend two shapes together, but we've done that for some time. Now you can probably hear in the background, I've got a cookie cutter printing on the 3D printer, but that was my little hack that I did for years because I was so tired of running around trying to find the perfect cookie cutter. So, because there are very few stores in the community that actually sell cookie cutters. Some of my favorite shapes really quick that I've made with circles: pizza, tacos, I've made pumpkin pies, I put Santa's face on a circle, a unicorn, any kind of animal shape head you can put on there. So it is absolutely endless. So, and yeah, so I think I've said enough about that, but just some suggestions on what do you do when you don't have that cookie cutter. All right, so 2 more. Again, thank you for being here. You can definitely watch the replay. If you need to log off, please come back every Friday, 10 o'clock Central. I'm on for Rapid Fire Friday. And if you are new to this episode, I do have several past episodes. So if you go to the events section, you can see all of the replays of the master classes. So, okay, so here's the next question. I am making a lot of cookies ahead for a booth, and I'm decorating them now. They will need to be heat sealed prior to the sale. Do I seal them now and then freeze them? And if I do, will I still need to put them in baggies before I put them in an airtight container to freeze, or are they okay in just the container? Is this the best way to freeze them after they are decorated? Thank you in advance. So you can interpret this a couple of different ways, but the bottom line is this gal has a large order. She obviously needs to work in advance, so she wants to make sure that they stay fresh. And first of all, I think that there's a little bit of a myth that once you make your cookies, if you don't consume them in the next 2, 3, 4, even 5 days, they're not going to be fresh. I want to bust that myth, okay? I'm going to bust that myth from experience. Cookie decorating kits, decorated cookies, because we are large volume and we have clients, particularly around the holidays, that do advanced planning for their client gifts, and sometimes our cookies are one piece of a larger box, those cookies are being produced weeks in advance, okay? Weeks in advance. They're heat sealed. They are never frozen. They are delivered, repackaged, shipped out to yet another destination, and they are perfectly fresh. So I want to, again, bust that myth that you feel like you have to consume those cookies right away. That royal icing is going to provide moisture in those cookies. So, of course, it also starts with your cookie recipe. You want to make sure that you have a delicious, moist cookie. So I have had tasted some other folks' cookies, and they're beautifully decorated, but they can be terribly dry. So you've got to be careful about the looks great, but does it also taste great? So work on that recipe. If you feel like your cookies don't last, then I would go back to your recipe. Okay, so but let's get back to the question about packaging. Here's what I do. Very rarely do we freeze, but when we freeze, here's a little hack for you. What you do is you heat seal them or even tie them with the bag, and if there's a ribbon, put them in your shipping boxes right away. Now, I, of course, have commercial freezers. You may not be able to do this, so it might be on a smaller plastic container, but I can actually take shipping boxes, put all my cookies in there, actually close them as if I'm delivering them. I saran wrap them just to give them a little bit of extra airtight seal. And then I will put them in the freezer. When I'm ready to deliver, I will pull them out, countertop, let them thaw overnight, and I don't even open the box. They're delivered to my client. And they are absolutely perfect. No condensation, and no issues with frosting, and they absolutely taste delicious. Again, I've done that a handful of times because of the timing and because it was such a large order. But otherwise, we typically don't freeze. So hopefully that helps you. Okay, so the last one of the day is I'm going to take a moment here and just take my own best advice. So I have been talking and sharing and advising on how important it is to stay in your lane, okay? Staying in your lane of the fact that don't spread yourself too thin, work with your bestseller, go deeper, not wider. And so that's exactly what I'm going to do. Now, the last couple episodes and in the masterclasses, I've been talking about, oh, my new kitchen, it's beautiful. I can't wait to host in-person classes. I was just about to host an in-person class and I picked a date of November 5th. And the last 10 days, we have been getting bombarded, and I use the word bombarded, by our clients for their needs for fall and winter, and even for spring already, if you can believe it. But my point is, if I were to host even one in-person class, it was going to derail me personally and for my team, and it wasn't going to allow me to stay in my lane, especially this time of the year. So I'm sad to say that I'm not going to formally post. I had not posted at this point formally that class in person. Please know that I'm going to continue with my Wednesday master classes, and I'm really excited because it does take time to prepare for them. And as you may notice, I did have to cancel this last one. We were going to do wet on wet. We'll still talk about wet on wet decorating in a future episode, but what we're going to do this holiday season, starting now through December, is we're going to give you some sneak previews behind the operations of Edible Impressions while my team and I are working on cookies. So Wednesdays, if I'm not talking business sense, the opposite one is going to be a sneak preview into our bakery and what we do when we are running high volume for the holidays. And we're talking already about putting up a cam in our bakery and then doing some Q&A while my team and I decorate and package. So I'm really excited for you guys to see in action all the stuff that I've been talking about in the next couple of weeks over the holiday season. So again, taking my own best advice, staying in my lane, concentrating on our best sellers, which is going to be our custom logo cookies, our custom gift boxes, and our cookie decorating kits and virtual experiences. Because the demand is there, my clients need me, I know you need me, and so this is the best way that I can serve both of my favorite people in the world by continuing to come to you virtually, and then I can also reach more of you too if I do the virtual experiences. So thank you so much for your patience and your interest. I is just in awe when I see this community grow. Everybody is so kind, and there's great questions and great conversations happening. And so I really do appreciate each and every one of you. And the last thing I'll say is October 5th. So Wednesday, I will be coming on live for part 3 of a 3-part series. We're going to be talking about resources, technology on the fulfillment side. So if you recall, if you didn't see part 1 and part 2, I encourage you to go back to the events section of the group. Part 1 was resources and technology for administration. Part 2 was resources and technology for marketing. And then this final one is going to be for fulfillment. So I'm sharing with you some of the resources that I've been exposed to, some of the technology that we're using in our business to be able to communicate and to provide excellent customer service. So it also just kind of keep us moving forward. So if you're not using technology, if you're a little afraid of it, hopefully I can shed some light and give you some options to consider, some free and some paid. So I look forward to seeing you all Wednesday. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and we will see you again all real soon. Take care, everybody.